Welcome to the Founder Podcast. I'm Magnus Olsen and I'm joined by my co-hosts today, rugby league legend Justin Hodges and the big Benny Marr. Welcome to the podcast, boys.
Thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And yourself?
Oh, mate, could not be better.
Awesome, mate. We have a very special guest today. We have Tony Matina, who's the Director of Preda Chartered Accountants, mate. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for the invite. Appreciate thinking of me, Ben.
Absolutely, mate. Take it away, Magnus.
Now, the first question I've got is, have you found a way for me to not pay any tax?
Why is it just you? I thought we were asking for a friend that one, no?
Short answer is yes, but I wouldn't use the word void. I will use minimise. So definitely the strategies you can minimise taxes.
Spoken like a true accountant.
To be politically correct.
Mate, my wife's an accountant. What excites you about being an accountant?
Well, my space, I deal with a lot of small to medium type business owners. So these are entrepreneurs in our obviously across Australia, and I just like being part of their journey. So these are guys who go out and take risks every day, and I'm fortunate enough to be part of that journey and see what they do and how I can help them in some shape or form. I don't take credit for all their wins, but I help them, guide them through some things for them to consider as they grow their businesses. So I've got some resources I can use to help with that advice along the way. But being part of their internal accounting team basically, and seeing that grow over time.
Have you got one creative client that you could just share a quick story of that's doing something interesting?
Creative.
What do you mean? Good question.
There's let's just say there's always some questions I get from clients that are always come from the creative sphere, and I need to remind them that sometimes things don't work that way.
Is he sitting in the room? Righto, Tony. So let's just go back to the beginning. Whereabouts were you born? And also, can you share any childhood experience that sort of led you to where you are today?
Yeah, no, good question. My background, I'm from an Italian background, second generation, or really first generation born here in Australia. My parents came from Italy. Grew up in the western suburbs of Melbourne, very blue-collar environment, so to speak, and growing up. I just still baffled how I became accountant out of that environment, to be honest. But where a lot of people in my year levels were going doing, trades and that sort of stuff, and I sort of bucked the trend and did something different. So I went to university where not many people went there, my high school. And went and started accounting. Didn't know what I was getting into at that point, but along the way I realised being with small businesses and being part of that environment is where I want to be. And business services tax is where it led me to eventually.
Yeah. What about parents? What did your parents do?
Parents, basically when they first came to Australia, Dad was just a factory labourer worker, and then he became basically a pizza maker and loved doing that, and then he eventually started his own pizza shop.
As you do when you're from Italy?
Yeah. Mum at the beginning was basically in textiles, so basically, sewing machine on that every day, making garments, which was a big thing back then in the 70s, 80s. Yeah. So I think some of those factories are still there in Collingwood in Melbourne, but they're a dying breed now. It's all overseas. So they're really blue collar backgrounds, and I was fortunate enough to work and see, from the retail side of front, working in a pizza shop myself. As soon as I could start doing it at 13, so I did that and saw the customers that came in every day. It was a pretty good experience working with the family as well. I mean, my dad was the kind of person who just wanted everyone to work in the business and the family. So I'm one of 4 siblings. I'm the youngest. So my oldest brother was doing that. Other brother was, and my sister was as well. Then they went, obviously, did their own careers. But it was good. It was good being a family business, being there every day. We all got lots of stories to share at home along the way.
So do you think that having your parents in the background that they had and you saw them growing up, do you think that's what led you into a more white-collar field?
I think going back to, I think my dad was the most influential part in terms of where I ended up. He always had these sayings that always hit home to me. These one sayers, these one line items. So I kept hearing in the back of my head, growing up, he kept saying to me, "You're normal, just like everyone else. You got 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason." He meant to say talk less, listen more, but anyway. He always give you the motivation to say, you can do whatever you want to do. So it gave me the confidence, and I definitely didn't want to go down and doing a trade, so to speak, because my brother did that in carpentry, and I saw what he did and what that involved. I didn't want to be in that environment, so I really wanted to have a career. Growing up, it was like a process of elimination, really, going through subjects. I didn't like all the science subjects. I was more sticking towards maths and business, legal, accounting.
Yep.
So through process of elimination, I sort of ruled out that part. And then one of my dad's extended family members, he was probably the only professional I ever knew in my family circle. He was an accountant and had an accounting practice as well. So I'll go with my dad when he gets his tax return done for the business when he had the pizza shop. And I saw what he had, what he did, and how he worked, and I was just sitting there in the chair thinking, "This is probably something I could do, enjoy." So that's probably where the seed planted. I pursued it, and here I am today.
Nice.
So I definitely wouldn't have changed it, I guess, along the way.
I suppose from my perspective, can you share with us some ethical dilemmas? Obviously we started the podcast today with a bit of a joke about avoid paying tax, but I'm sure over the years you've had some ethical decisions to make. How are they resolved in your mind, and how did you work with your clients to do the best for your clients, but also stay ethically safe as an accountant?
Yeah. The one word is basically education. Clients tend to, and as they do, because they're from a different education background, so they always want to be able to know what they can claim, what they can't claim in their business. I've got some examples in the past that are quite big in terms of what they want to claim. Obvious no's to me, but obviously some clients know that and just being a bit cheeky, and some just don't know. They want to know whether they can claim some things. So things like private school fees, or paying off a loan, the actual capital component rather than the interest. They're the sorts of things that clients want to know whether they can claim. And I just need to sit back to them and just sort of say, look, and really got to explain it down to layman's terms depending on the client you're dealing with. You just let them know why you can't claim certain things, and more importantly, if you do go down that path, what the ramifications can be and consequences. And once you go down that piece, they sort of sit back and say, yeah, now I get it. Yeah, let's move on. Talked about someone else. It's more of an education piece from a client's perspective.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of education, so if I walked into your office and said, I want to start a business, what's the first thing that you'd run through to me with?
Apart from being very passionate in what you want in the field that you're pursuing that business, because that's going to help you get out of tough times in the future. Basically, a cash flow forecast is imperative.
Yep.
Yeah, you really got to, when you start a business, you really got to know the costs each month for that business that you're going to deploy in terms of your capital, and really have an idea of what you're going to generate in income each month, and really see whether is this sustainable. Because really you need the cash to get it going. It's not always profit that you make from day one. More often than not, it's actually losses. You'll start off making losses, but you need the cash coming in to help see the vision and grow the top line, which ultimately turns into profit. And you won't see that unless you do a 12-month or even a 2-year forecast.
Yep.
But that's important because it'll highlight some gaps in the future months that you might not see now. Yep. December, Christmas period is a big one.
Yep. So to most businesses, you need a certain amount of capital before you kick off?
Yeah, well, some businesses are very capital intensive. Some aren't. So, I mean, here at Preda, we've recently set up Preda Capital, which is a finance arm to the business. We did the same sort of thing with that. We've done a forecast, and the only capital intensive in that business was really just labour costs, so wages. That's all it was. Everything else was pretty low cost to enter that business, that market. But yeah, it depends. You've got some businesses that are very capital intensive, might need a lot of equipment. So all of a sudden you need big bucks to get that equipment, to just get equipment. It might be forklifts, might be excavators, whatever, depending on what industry you're in. But yeah, that forecast will help highlight what you need and highlight some pitfalls before they actually become issues.
And in your experience, like what's the most common mistake people make with their taxes, and how can it be avoided?
Yeah, good question. When it comes to taxes, it comes back down to the budgeting piece. If you think of put your entrepreneur hat on, you're earning, you're generating income, you see cash go in the bank that's building, and often some clients forget that there's an ATO payment every 3 months at a minimum called GST, and withholding tax in your BASs. So and that depletes the bank account every 3 months, which is quite sickening to some business owners when that you see the cash going up and all of a sudden it goes down again because you're making a payment to pay that taxes. Yep. So being aware of that and what that liability is and be comfortable with that from a mindset perspective. And a good way to help with that is some clients actually, we always say, set up a separate bank account just to transfer cash to it. That way when the tax bill does come up, it's there. Again, comes with budgeting planning to cater for that potential pitfall.
So I suppose from my perspective, how do you balance, the compliance when you're working with really aspirational entrepreneurs? How do you balance the compliance aspect with helping them achieve what they want to do?
That's a really good question, because I sit back and I need to unpack, I guess, what the client's business goals are in the next 12 or 24 months. So really do a diagnostic of what they're trying to achieve. People say obviously profit's the number one, but there's sometimes other things, some personal life goals that people want to achieve as well. And once you know that first piece, then you can sit back and, in my view as an advisor, you can sit back and look at the business and see whether you can structure things a little bit different that might create a bit more extra wealth for that personal goal they want to achieve. So some examples might be how they remunerate themselves. As a business owner, you've got the flexibility to choose how you want to remunerate yourself. It doesn't have to be wages, could be dividends or whatever it may be. And that has some flow-on impacts into the business from a cash flow perspective, positive and negative. So it really depends on what everyone's circumstances are and really do a diagnostic and plan for that.
So what you said earlier, really, you've kind of just embodied what you said earlier, which was it's about education, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So educating yourself on your clients and how you can best serve them.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Something I'm curious about, Tony, is, and I imagine you'd have some interesting stories to tell, but what's one of the dumbest things that you've seen one of your clients do?
One definitely stands out. It's going back a while now. I haven't had that moment for in recent times, but there was this one client that basically he basically did a transaction without getting any advice, and it was basically it was a property transaction that they did, and they took a sizable deposit out of the business's working capital to fund it, thinking that they'll get finance that's approved, and the cash will come back into the business and happy days. But in that scenario, that didn't happen. So they depleted a large sizable amount out of the bank account, and the bank didn't fund them, and the bank didn't want to bank them basically, and this came out after the fact, and we weren't involved in that transaction, and we just sat back and nothing we can do now. It's almost like rescuing, can we get another finance somewhere else? But it was all too late, because you've taken the lunch some out of the bank for the business. All of a sudden you need working capital to pay wages, and time's against you. So it's almost impossible. And it was a really good business, had really good strong assets back in the back end of it. And it ended up going to liquidation, unfortunately, and they ended up selling everything, and no win there. So that was probably the silliest thing. That what I learned out of that, what clients should learn out of that is, before you make a transaction, get advice, and before you buy any sort of property where you need finance, get pre-approval. That's the main one, and don't assume that it's just going to happen, because it hasn't happened.
Can you share any emerging trends that all business owners should understand?
Currently at the moment, I think AI is a big thing that's going on around the traps at the moment. People are talking a lot about that. I'm still yet to see how that can be very efficient, I guess, in my line of work. There are some apps out there, I guess, that save time and do certain tasks, but I think that's one trend. I think watch your space. Feels like there's going to be some good things happening here. Other trends, I think working from home, sort of that whole topic is a hybrid model sort of here to stay. Some of the, I think they're going to scale back though. So depending on how many days people are working from home these days, I think some of that will scale back. I think 1 day a week or 2 days max a week was probably something where people get to. But some of those jobs out there where it's 5 days a week, it's not going to fly in today's environment. I'm not, the comments I'm hearing, they're not getting the output out of their teams in that environment. And I think the stuff that we're hearing, a lot of people are getting burnt out because of working from home. It's funny to hear, but I sit back and say, well, and we actually noticed as a practice during COVID, we were forced to go work from home, and we got timesheets so we can see what everyone's doing and how long things are taking. And I could sit back and confidently say over the COVID period when everyone went and worked from home, everyone was working longer and they were producing less. Yep. So that tells me people are at the desk for longer for less output. And there's only a certain amount of time before someone gets burnt out by doing that. And I feel like that trend coming out of COVID where people still working from home, I think people still got that characteristic still happening. I think they're working longer and getting less output. And that's causing a bit of that, people being burnt out. And it's probably some of the reasons why some of the whole topic of mental health issues are coming out.
Yeah. I recall reading an article recently that the productivity across Australia is down 30% since COVID. And it's like you're pointing out, because as a business owner, what's important is output. And just because one of your employees has worked 10 hours, if they've only achieved 6 hours work, well, that level, I think, and being out of the office and all the distractions that you have at home can be causing that. And I think also the environment that you have at work, where you've got the camaraderie of other staff members and being on your own at home can not necessarily always be healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think people take it for granted. Just getting up out of the morning, having a shower, putting on a suit and go to the office. People don't realise it, but it changes your mindset. Like you're ready for work. You compare that to waking up, getting out of bed, probably still in your pajamas, going on a computer. Your mindset's the same. You're still half asleep, and your output's probably slower. So, I think there's a bit of that going on, and it's not really talked about much, but that's some of the reasons why I think output's not, like you said, output's down.
And on the back of that, I have to ask, do you think maybe, do you think you'll ever be replaced? Do you think AI will ever, take your role over? So instead of someone coming to see you guys at Prater and then the team, they'll just use the new AI program to sort it all out.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. That's my view. I think there's a lot of AI already in the accounting work, so bookkeeping. There's a lot of technology change in there that's sort of a bit more automatic. The answer to that part is yes, that's going to improve. But, at the end of the day, business owners still need to understand what does profit and loss mean to me? What does this balance sheet mean to me? Can I buy can I buy that property in 6 months' time? Am I going to have enough cash flow for it? I can't see any AI at the moment giving business owners that advice. And even if it does, I don't know, as a business owner, would you trust it? Or would you rather hear it from someone who's got that experience and have that deep dive conversation about it rather than just a ChatGPT response?
But you guys are continually up, going, attending seminars, getting the understanding, because the laws are always changing, and that's a big part of staying on top of all of those. I know that my accountant is continuously going to conferences and getting an understanding, and that's what you have as a requirement as a business owner, that the professional that you're getting that advice of is up to date on all the latest.
Yeah, absolutely. We, as a practice, our budget's quite high when it comes to training. We once a month we spend 2.5 hours off-site training. Half of that session is all about what's gone through Parliament, what tax laws have changed, so we're aware of it, and what's coming to change, what's going to happen, so that we're ready for it. So we can talk to our clients, say, look, get ready, we're doing this at the moment, but the new law's going to change and start changing things now. So yeah, we got that, and the other part is like a special topic where they go through a deep dive in certain things. So we're always educating ourselves, our team's always educated on all those topics. That way we can give advice to our clients, better advice to our clients as it comes up. So, there's a lot of training in our practice, even internally, once a month. We get everyone around the boardroom over lunch and we go for an internal session, just informally. And yeah, it's continuously changing. You're right. It's not just something that you just sit and forget. And again, another example is the budget every year. The budget comes out in May every year. So there's always some opportunities there for business owners that things change, things that happen before 30 June. So I don't know how AI can do that quite quickly.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think with some of those programs that are coming out, AI can help in a very basic bookkeeping sense. But yeah, from a high level perspective, I don't think that it's ever going to replace that level of just experience and thinking through problems from different angles.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not a fan of getting ChatGPT to give me some high level accounting advice.
Yeah, like the bookkeeping to automate that part, I'm all for it, and I think we need that because that gives us accounts reconciled quicker. Give it to the business owner, advisors get involved, they see it all, they can make decisions on it. So the quicker we get that information, the better it is.
What about marketing? Like, is that something in your particular field? How does an accounting business, when you're growing that business and expanding the social media, or what marketing strategies do you guys use?
Yeah, no, very good question, actually. I've experimented a little bit in that area. Preti's been around now for 14 years, and we've grown from initially 4 staff to now going to be about 27 staff over the 14 years, and that was through just natural growth. There's no acquisitions in that. It was just through natural growth. When I say natural growth, basically do a really good job in our clients and they'll refer you clients similar to them. I think that, to me, that's probably the best marketing strategy. You get that right and you'll get the clients that you want as well, because your current clients have similar kind of characters and friends around their network similar to them who share the same values and morals and business and work ethic. And then if they refer someone to you, all of a sudden it's a half sale already, and you're going to be comfortable that they're going to be like-minded like your existing clients. So client referrals is probably the best marketing strategy in my view. I have touched on earlier on, Google AdWords and that sort of stuff, just for, trial and error, just see what that's like. You get some leads, but I must admit, I don't want to deal with those sort of leads. If that makes sense, just it's the wrong kind of market you don't know what you're going to get, essentially. So
where do you see the growth? Where have you seen the growth in the last 5 years, and where do you see it in the next 5 years as far as different industries goes? Have you noticed any trends in that fields?
Yeah. Australia's just building, just keeps on building. So the construction industry is growing and always has been, and that will continue to grow. Especially all the houses that are getting built that need to be rebuilt soon. That's going to create a lot of work into the future. But definitely anything construction industry, mining industry as well. We're a pretty big resources country, so anything supporting the mining industry is a growth area. We've got some clients around that space, and they're growing year on year. Construction, mining, they're probably the two that come to mind. I like to say manufacturing, but it's a slow burn, that one. Australia should have a good manufacturing industry, but I like to see that grow. But I think we need the politicians to help out with that, to make that industry business case viable.
I'll be intrigued to see how that marketing space goes. I was listening to something from Elon Musk recently, and he reckons in the next 20 years, like manufacturing internationally will be obsolete because there'll be robots to literally build everything. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can see that. I think I saw that the other day where Tesla's brought out some robots. what's it called? Optimus Prime, whatever he's called. I mean, you can see that happening, and they're going to do stuff that us current humans are doing. It just comes down like any new technology, what's it going to cost and return on investment, any stuff ups along the way. But that'll be a process. They'll get better at that. That'll happen. I'd love to have a robot in my house that cleans the house. I think it's a great concept. Cost of less than a car. But as long as I can turn it off at the end of the night and go to sleep at night peacefully, I'm happy.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, Justin was just saying.
Well, they've got the robot vacuums now I haven't got one, but maybe one day I might get one. Probably the last question for me, right, is a big one. Probably the biggest mistake you learnt in business, and how did you deal with it? Just a little question I have from a friend.
This is a tough one. I can't really recall a mistake.
Okay,
a big one that is. But
what about a client's mistake then?
I might be sitting at the table.
Someone we all know.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if it's a mistake. I think, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Yeah. I think sometimes within our client base, you see sort of things happen after the fact, and you sort of sit back and say, that didn't go to plan. And often you say to yourself, what could I have done different?
Actually, that's probably a better way to rephrase it. So if you rewind the clock back to when you first started the company, you were going to start this exact same company right now, what would you do differently?
I don't think I would do anything different, to be honest. People's a big part. So obviously you want to get the people right, making sure that the people in your team are got the same vision and work ethic as the founders, and obviously the vision that we're building together. That's very important. So the values of the business, you want to make sure the team coming on board understand that, and they're sort of on the same page. Because I think once you get the team humming along, everything's just good things happen, basically. I guess in a way, some mistakes I've made, to answer your question, Justin, is maybe hiring some people that probably went up for who don't have the same values as us, and it's hard to extrapolate in the interview process to start. But I think by getting that right is probably something that's very important.
I'm really glad you touched on that, because values is something I've done a lot of work on over the recent past. But years and years ago, when I was going through rapid growth phases and we employed 40-odd staff over the 10-year period, the emphasis on values and the importance of values, and like you pointed out, you're looking at their resume and you're looking at all of their skill sets, and it's really difficult to try and understand what are the true values of that person, and having that misalignment within those values, because every company is going to have different values, and if they're not aligned, that there just isn't there isn't that long-term relationship.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the client service that the founders have been delivering to our clients and our clients love and expect to receive, as we grow as a business and our team members grow, if they don't deliver the same service as we have been, clients are going to see it and they're going to react to it and they're not going to like it. So it comes back to your point, the values. If you get that right, then it's easier to sort of show them how we do stuff here at Preda, and they continue the same philosophy. It's easier said than done. That's a hard challenge. But it's to get that right from the start, I think is quite difficult. But you got to sort of test as much as you can at the start by asking the right questions, I guess.
Every company, every business, it's all about the people, isn't it?
It is. It is.
When you're trying to grow that business, that first person that you're going to employ from after being by yourself and you're a little sole trader and you're growing, and just the importance of getting that right and the difficulty in getting that right. And I've made so many mistakes on that front over the years, and it still doesn't make it even any easier today, because quite often you get a spike in that business growth and you need somebody and you need someone quickly, and then you don't have necessarily the time that you'd like to spend in that recruiting process.
And the people they bring on need to be given the same sort of services you have been. So and
training.
And training's a big part.
Any final comments, Justin, before we get into the quick fire questions, mate?
Is there probably one client that you probably wish you didn't have on your books?
I love it.
And why? You don't have to name names, but
No, all my clients are available to me. I take
you can be honest.
I take them very seriously, and at the end of the day, we're dealing with their livelihoods and the employees in those businesses. There's lots of families there, so I every client that trusts me to be their external advisor, I take seriously, because we are impacting a lot of families.
But is there one particular person that just calls you non-stop that you probably don't want him to call you anymore? He or she, I should say.
Look, some clients are very hands-on, and some aren't. So
my final question for the podcast today is going to be for anyone who's looking to get into finance out there, or is obviously very motivated by this podcast today. What's a piece of advice you'd give them for someone looking to get into your field, or anything in the finance space?
Advice. I think one piece at the moment, I think as we see the younger generation come through this field, is I feel like they need to be a bit more, in the communication styles. They need to be very, very hands-on, rather than electronic means. I think the whole good old conversation piece needs to be emphasised a bit more. I think people just to have a conversation is something where we don't see much in the younger generation coming through. Often I drive to work and I see the bus stop, everyone there's on the devices. So I think getting experience in the early ages of customer service, the whole retail piece, working at McDonald's, that's dealing with the customers, and I just say it's good to get experience in taking crap from customers, because you get some emotions, get some blood going through your system, and you get to feel it, and it's okay to feel that way, because the next time that comes across, you'll adapt differently to that, and it's not all sunshines and rainbows. You have to experience those moments to build and grow as an individual.
Nice.
So
let's go.
All right, Tony, quick fire questions, mate. You ready?
go for it.
All right, your favourite accounting software?
MyOb.
What's your biggest tax-saving tip you have for us?
Tax saving tip.
Tax saving.
Superannuation.
One sentence on exactly how you personally deal with adversity.
Remember the triumphs in the past.
Worst time of the year for you?
June.
What's the number one thing everyone should know about their finances?
Their budget.
True or false? Cash is king.
True.
The most used app on your phone?
My Apple Home app. I can tell it to open the gate before I get home.
What's the most rewarding part of accounting?
Seeing my clients grow and create wealth and being part of that journey.
Smartest person you've sat in a room with?
Ooh. That's a tough one.
Ben Maher.
Oh, definitely Ben. He challenged me, that's for sure.
The biggest tax deduction people miss?
Again, superannuation.
Your greatest skill?
Communicating what the figures mean in clients' businesses and forecasting that.
This is a tough one. The best accounting joke you know?
Ben Maher again, is it?
We'll come back to that one. What do you believe is the most underrated attribute you need to be a successful entrepreneur?
Consistency.
Give us a tip or piece of advice so valuable you'd normally charge us for it.
Get advice from your advisors before you make a decision.
Mate, well said.
And pay for it, because it's going to be well spent.
No, very, very well said. Great advice, mate. Thanks for all your tips and tricks today. It's been awesome. Thank you.
No, thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thanks,
being here, and thanks, Ben, for the invitation.
Absolutely.